We are live. We are live. We are live. Another fabulous show of Let's Talk About It Wednesday. Man, look, I was a little concerned this morning, bro, when I woke up and saw some snow out on my deck. I did not quite understand what to say or how to respond to that, but I'm glad that it was just, a dusting, I guess, if you will, and it quickly kind of went away, I guess, just as fast as it came. However, with that being said, over the next 3 or 4 days, we're still kind of in a weather pattern of wintry mix, some rain, some more possible snow, and I don't know exactly when it's coming, if it's coming, how long it's going to stay. But that's all part of today's March Madness, and we ain't specifically talking about basketball. Brother Joe, what's good with you, man?
Oh, I can't call it. The weather is, it's not too bad. I mean, I can't complain. It's March. We got a little bit of snow. Could be more.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm okay though. Things are looking up.
Yes, indeedy. Well, speaking of March Madness, obviously March Madness is kind of going on, right now. So check your brackets, if you got one. Hopefully you're doing well in your brackets, and therefore you can, win a few bucks. The Timberwolves, man, they lost a tough one, last night against the Lakers. They got a tied record at 40-25 with the Lakers, but the Lakers have the tiebreaker, which Lakers is in fourth place and putting the Timberwolves in fifth place. They done lost their last two. I think they done won, 7 or something like that. They're out of their last 10, and they're not doing too bad. I think when they have maybe about 15, 16 or so more games or something like that there.
Okay.
So, we're hoping that they can kind of, slide into that fourth seed. Either way, whether it's third seed, fourth seed, fifth seed, guess what? You got to show up, right?
Right.
You got to show up and play and beat whomever it is in order for you to advance. And we know just because you're sitting in first seed, that don't mean that the 8th seed can't beat you.
Right. I mean, we want to see you guys play and win games. We'd like you to show up while still wearing the Timberwolves uniform. Fortunately, it seems like most players are playing really hard, and then they play even harder once they leave Minnesota. So we sure like you to play much harder here in Minnesota. It'd be nice to see the Timberwolves get a championship ring instead of some of those almost trophies that they've been consistently getting. But
he just can't leave the studio without. Oh, that's Joe for you, man. That's my boy. Well, I'm tracking. I don't know how much you've been tracking the NFL free agency.
I've been peeking at it here and there. Looks like we got some things showing up in Pittsburgh that are really nice. So we're excited about this new year with some new blood that we're picking up some decent trades off the field. So,
right. So has any trades actually been solidified on your side, or do you know?
Sounds like we might have a lock in on Tyreek Hill. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that we'd be really excited if that thing's finalized on that. It brings us some addition to the wide receiver role right now, where we are just we're doing okay with Metcalf, but we just it'd be nice to have somebody on the other side to create a balanced threat. And of course, if we could shore up that backfield with the quarterback and the tailback situation, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not even gonna even start trying to speculate on my Minnesota Vikings, man. Yeah, there's some things out there, and you always want to feel kind of excited, and you kind of look forward to the season one way or the other. It's going to be what it is, right? But I'm hoping, honestly, that we're able to kind of really kind of put some pieces together. Obviously, we're need the most help in that quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, I think historically, I checked to see if there were any Vikings historically who wore purple, and I didn't see any. So maybe If the Vikings, could come out with a little warrior mentality, maybe an aggressive uniform, things might get on track. I mean, I know everyone loves Prince and everything, and we want to see a championship. So hopefully, we can get them some aggressive clothing to sport to go along with those horns, and we can hear something, like once in a while, right?
Yeah, we gonna get there, brother. We gonna get there.
But I think realistically, I mean, I think they got a legitimate chance to do some things. They need to shore up some things at the quarterback position for sure. They got great wide receivers and a decent tailback core. So I think, again,
What do you think, Christine?
Again, they just need to throw the ball.
Right.
Whenever they throw the ball, just sling it up there. I mean, they always come out on top. So hopefully we'll go back to playing Viking football.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the season. Like I said, I'm hoping that we can, put someone that's solidified, in that quarterback position that will give us a real opportunity, give them receivers an opportunity to get downfield and just kind of open up the field.
Yeah.
But we also need to make sure that that running back, and that fullback, that they're legit too. To kind of keep that line.
And the coaching staff. I mean, listen, traditionally, I don't care who's at the helm in terms of the quarterback position, but for whatever reason, Minnesota, whenever they get out to leads, they have a tendency to get conservative and don't want to continue to keep the foot on the gas. It's 4 quarters of football. You have to gas it the entire time. Throw the ball downfield. Put pressure on the defenses.
I got a question for you. What do you think, or how would you feel, or not necessarily, but what do you think about if the Vikings would bring in some type of coach from college?
I mean, I think it's a fresh start. I mean, it could be a coach from high school at this point.
I mean, you know what? I'm not asking you nothing else.
I mean, honestly, I think what it is, see, here's the thing. A lot of people get down on the coaches and go, it's bad coaching. But really, it's bad players, right? Because the coaches can only teach a strategy. It's up to the player to actually go out there and perform it. And so I don't know why we fire coaches when players don't perform. I understand we want to give them the motivation, and we feel like there could be a better strategy or that the players don't respond to the coaches. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you're paying a guy a lot of money to go out there and perform his job to the best of his ability. And when he doesn't do that, I think it's terrible to get rid of the coach and not do anything to the player, right? So, I mean, if you're in a position to do a better job, do a better job, dude. I mean, that's what the thing of it is. The quarterback, we got to have a guy that can lead the team, that can rally them under pressure and say, hey, guys, look, let's go get this down, and then we'll get the next down and the next down. But, you have to go for it. You gotta step on it. You got to put the gas on it. That front line, you got to communicate with the coach. You got to communicate with the quarterback. Hey, I'm not getting any blocking on the right side. I need you guys to step it up, shift the ball, make adjustments, make in-game adjustments, right? I mean, I coached for quite a few years at the Park District level. And the biggest thing about coaching is listening to the players. Hey, I mean, you may say, we're running left and we're getting killed on the left side. Listen to the players. If they're saying, listen, there's a guy whom we just can't seem to stop on this left side, then let's shift the manpower to that side so the guy can get stopped, right? You have to make those adjustments to in game to make yourself successful. And that just doesn't happen with the Vikings. For whatever reason, they get a good lead, and they want to kind of sit down on that lead, and then before you know it, they're fighting for their lives at the end of the game.
Right.
Step on the gas. You got really good receivers, use them. Force them to defend the receivers, and guess what? If they defend the receivers and they're forced to run downfield, that leaves the tailback in the backfield free to run the ball, take some screens. You know what I mean? That's the key of not getting your quarterback hit when they got to chase them down the field.
Yeah, well, perhaps, man, just perhaps, in addition to running for Hennepin County Sheriff, you need a coaching job. We need to get you a coaching job, man.
Well, listen, if I could get that job, I definitely would. I guarantee you I would go coach in the NFL, no problem. Especially with that paycheck they're signing off on, right?
Right. Well, brother, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things today, man, and there's just a lot of stuff happening. It's March Madness, right? It's just so much that's just kind of going on in March. But before we kind of jump off up into it, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to you, man, and let you hit them with that famous backpack and some groundkeeping rules.
Yep, we're here every week from 5 to 6. We just ask that you respect everyone's answers and questions. Remember, you can get in touch with us either on Facebook, inboxes, or give us a call, and we'll do our best to respond to you, if not on this show, the very next show. With that being said, we start milling in the show with the backpack.
That backpack.
And that backpack consists of making sure you have your driver's license and insurance with you before you get in that vehicle. Remember to place them above the visor. That way if stopped by law enforcement, it won't be mistaken for a weapon. Remember to stay calm. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel. And as always, make it on home to your loved ones. Same thing when walking down the street. Make sure you get your driver's license or ID where it's easily accessible. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel. And as always, make it on home to your loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to piggyback on that as we have seen, just young folks getting these permits to carry, and they're not able to really kind of purchase certain firearms, and they can be gifted certain things, but they can't purchase certain ammo. I mean, it's really kind of complex on how this stuff is happening. I would have guessed or assumed that if you were going to lower the age, then you would have allowed them to be able to purchase handguns and purchase ammo. I mean, you're saying that they're an adult, but then at the same time, you're treating them still like kids. So, young folks, and don't get too discouraged. I continue to encourage you to take various classes to enhance and increase your knowledge of being a productive gun owner, even though that you may not own a gun, but you still have that permit to carry. So then therefore, when you're able to kind of purchase that weapon, you're just going to know exactly how and what to do and when to do when certain things are occurring. Remember, the biggest weapon you will always have is your mind, because you're still going to have to be able to articulate what you do, when you do, how you do, and when you do it too, right? The best gunfight that you will ever be in is one that never happens.
Exactly.
You got to be able to see what's going on and how it's going on. And if you need to kind of get your tail on about that scenario, that situation, or whatever it is, do so, right?
And let me just piggyback off that for a hot second, too. Listen, I know guns give people a false sense of security, right? So for you guys that do possess firearms, let it be something that's there for defensive purposes to allow you that opportunity to get away from the threat, not an offense, right? We're not running around here offensively looking to draw guns on people. So keep those things put away, tucked away safely in a holster or whatever it is, but you don't need to be running around here brandishing a firearm or carrying it out in the open so someone can see it. Remember, someone see a gun, generally it draws the attention of another gun, right? And so you do want to be able to walk away from these situations a lot safer. And then the second part of that is I hear a lot of conversation about gun laws, and I know everyone has their opinion. I'm going to share with you a little bit of mine, okay? I truly think that we have enough gun laws on the books for law-abiding citizens. And let me say that again. I think we have enough for law-abiding citizens. The problem that we have is that they're not requiring those gun laws be enforced when you're buying guns on the street, okay? Which is where a good chunk of guns are being sold. So when we strengthen these gun laws, the only persons that we are hindering are those folks who are law-abiding.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and we don't want to shift the balance so that all of the bad guys are the only one with guns. Right?
Right.
We want to have our gun folks with their guns and being protected when they need them, right? Remember, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Absolutely.
All right, are we clear on that? All right.
Well, this is why I think sometimes Brother Joe and I we hang out too much because he goes right down the same path that I'm about to go down. But with that being said, because this was actually one of the topics that we were going to kind of speak about, just not in this specific order. However, it's always when it's election year, right? People are always kind of concerned about guns, supposed to be taken away.
Right.
Things of that nature. Now, one of the hot topics is this 10 capacity magazine, and we don't want to be only bound or held to a 10-round capacity magazine because people like their 15-round or they like that 21-round magazine, et cetera, right? Here's the thing is that whether it's 10 rounds, whether it's 15 rounds or more, it only takes one, if that's indeed the case. I get it that people kind of like to have, they do different drills or they kind of go out and practice, differently and things of that nature, whether it's outside or inside, and they possibly need, those more rounds, or they just like to kind of play with, their AR, whatever it is. My point with that is that the NRA is so powerful. They're so strong that I do not see anything of the such as anybody coming through and taking your guns and all this other type of stuff. There would be so much that would have to occur before that would happen that you would know about.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean,
No.
The fact of the matter is, they knew what they was doing when they created them. If you thought you needed 40 rounds to deer hunt, I'm not sure what kind of deer you hunt, right? So, I mean, we're talking minimum 5.56 and 7.62 millimeter on the rounds. That's enough. That's enough damage, right? One round is enough damage. So, I mean, when you created that magazine, a high-capacity magazine, you already knew. And anyone who's recently been in a gun store, that years ago, high-capacity mag would cost you a few good bucks. Not anymore. $15 minimum on some of these mags, right?
Right.
And so to a guy who's going in there to get ready for the community, because I don't know where you're going with all that ammo, but you got 4 high-capacity magazines and you got an AR-15 and you bought it all for less than $700, right? I mean, and that's Joe Citizen, right? But the average guy on the block has got everything and that plus a little bit more, including the fully automatic switch, right? For a little around $250.
Right,
so I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say this here before we kind of, move on here just a little bit, is for those that are out there seeking your permit to carries, please do yourself a favor and stay away from any entity that's offering these online gun classes. I'm not a fan of them. I've seen where individuals have spent money and have not received their certificate. They've spent their money and they really didn't learn too much. They end up showing up at a third-party entity to kind of do some shooting, and there seems like there are always some type of complications to that. So either one, if that's what you choose to do your homework before you just be, paying your money. Or 2, make sure that whomever you go with, that you do it in person. I know that it may be a little time consuming, but it's well worth the outcome. Trust me.
Yeah, and parents, get your kids involved in a youth gun safety class so that, the curiosity of what you're hiding in the house, goes out the window, right? So that they really understand what the weapon's capable of, how to use it properly, and to make sure that they're treating it like it's always a loaded weapon, right? A healthy respect for what those guns are. and what they're capable of is what saves lives in your house.
Yeah, I always encourage, families, to kind of take classes and stuff like that there together. One of the things that I've really kind of started doing a lot of is surviving a home invasion, training. And it's really, really interesting, when you start kind of going through individuals' homes, looking at their outside and things of that nature, and just getting the family involved is what's most important. So again, those are just a lot of different trainings that are out there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to me, and I can definitely make sure I kind of point you in the right direction. 612-702-9849.
All right.
With that being said, man, last week we missed you.
Yes, sir.
However, we had a very powerful, special guest, Sister Naira Mohammed. If I'm saying her name right, Sister Naira Mohammed.
Very, very well informed sister.
Oh my God, she was absolutely fabulous. Just so in there for you guys know, she will be here on the March 21st and March 22nd, as she will be speaking over at 505 Wabasha Street North in St. Paul. Again, 505 Wabasha Street North in St. Paul. From my understanding, this is a free event, and she's going to be talking about the family structure and just kind of how important it is, the roles and things of that nature that we all play, within the family and things of that nature. So I strongly encourage you guys to get on over there, maybe, call. I'll definitely be sharing the flyer, on my social media and things of that nature. So, look for that. So then therefore you can kind of call and maybe get a little bit of more information. But again, powerful. We were put in contact, with her through Pastor Troy Wilson.
Okay.
Who was on here, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he will be returning next week.
Okay.
He has some new information, some updated information. I'm sure he's going to be talking about this upcoming speaking event as well, with Sister Naira. And I think she's also bringing her husband along with her. So I definitely plan on being in the house, to hear, how we as, African American men, can be more positive and productive and constructive within the structure of our families.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. But, when we kind of talk about, the structure of our family, you get to talking about everything kind of happens in the house, right? And I was just kind of really doing some recent digging just to kind of see what that kind of looks like, in today's times, because we know that yesteryear, is a lot different from yesterday. Right. And so right now they're talking about 42%, of marriages end up in divorce within the first 8 years. Right. So now let's just take that just for 1 second, and especially if you have a child, within this marriage, or maybe even two by 8 years of dealing with one another and being married to one another, these young kids, have come accustomed, to having a two-parent home, and then at some point in some time, the parents separate, and hopefully that these parents are able to co-parent accordingly, so then therefore they can still be involved in these young children's lives, right? Because we know that you need that nurturing from both mom and dad. When one is missing, then we start to kind of look for other things to fill that gap.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're teaching them those wholesome core values that help to shape who they become as a person, right? And one of the big reasons that those couples are separating is because it's a growth period, right? people don't really realize that it takes work to learn to teach two people to be a team, right? You come into it with the mindset that I'm going to do what's best for me, you're going to do what's best for you, and then we're going to be together. And that's great until you realize, like, man, we have to figure out a way to be on one accord.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that early part where people go wrong is, one is generally finances, two is communication, right? They can't figure out how can we be on the same page. And the true answer is this. You're not looking for someone who does everything you say do. Or who is a replica of who you are, because you would have married yourself, right? But you are looking for someone who's willing to pursue their dreams while helping you pursue your dreams, so that you're evenly supporting each other and becoming a unique, well-oiled machine, right? And in that process, you're both kind of learning what your role is, what your positioning is in that relationship to support each other. Now, you can't have two kings. And you can't have two queens, right? So someone's got to take the lead, and then that means someone's going to cover the backside.
Yeah,
and so once we get that down pat, then now we got a team, right? But if we go out here and fight, and you just hacking only on your side, and I'm tired over here, and I'm hacking my side, but I'm getting tired. Eventually, I'm gonna be on the ground, and you left to hack both sides, right?
Right.
So hacking together evenly. Now we're cutting the grass.
You know, as you say that, I mean, Sister Naira, she was laying out some information last week, man, that was just beautiful, and I really, really encourage women, everyone, but especially these young women, to really kind of get out and listen, you know, because a lot of these young ladies, they want to be independent. You know, they want to, you know, and in some cases they have to be because they've been left alone, you know, and I get that. I understand that. And so that's when I had kind of responded to, as far as, you know, us from a male's perspective on some things we need to do, right? But I want to throw some other numbers out there, some other information out there. You know, there's about 24 to 35% of children under the age of 18 that's being raised by a single parent. About 85% of those that are made to pay child support is it's about 85% total, but 59% is men, and then we have about another 24% are women that are paying child support. But what really kind of got me is that the average pay annually, you know, is just a little bit over $5,000, you know, and we know good and darn well that it takes a whole heck of a lot more than $5,000 annually, you know, to raise a kid.
Right.
You know, so there's holes, you know, there's gaps.
Yeah, I think, you know, if we could get away from the monetary value and focus more on the physical accountability, I think we'll do a lot better, because I think having the parent present
Absolutely.
goes a long way. You know, we know the kid needs to be financially supported as well, but having that kid present and having his parent present in his life is going to really impact that child on who he becomes, where his values are. Because it's harder to convince a kid that he should be in a core relationship with two people if he grew up with one and it was destructive, right? And we both know that there's no way for one parent to be home and gone. So it's a gimme. Something's going to come up short. And I give you a prime example. If the parent is going to be successful in their career, they got to go to work, right? They got to be there. They got to put in those extra hours. They got to show that they're accountable, reliable. And so they're doing a great job at the job. Now, the problem is, if you're doing a great job at the job, you're not home. Right? And unless you work at the daycare where you can bring your child, that means the child's with somebody else, learning his values from somebody else, getting his ideas about life from someone else. And there's only 24 hours in the day. And the downside of that is we generally don't know exactly who the child is becoming until they get to that age where they can begin to express what they've learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people call it rebellion. But if the kid has learned bad habits, right, now that you're finally spending time with them, you're just noticing, oh my God, he's learned some bad habits, right? And so if it took him 5 years to get those bad habits in place, and take another 5 years to get back to zero where you can possibly, correct those bad habits, and that's everything went perfect. So now we're talking age 10, right? At age 10, now we've got a point where he might be susceptible to listening. If not, then the next 5 years is going to be spent hit and miss, right? At that point, he's got 3 more years before he leaves adolescent, and he's in adulthood. Right. By that time, he's preparing, or he should have been preparing, to take his place in society, and hopefully would have learned that he's expected to give back, do his part, blah, blah, blah. Right. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen.
Well, I will say this here is that, there's a lot of different factors, that kind of come into play, on who, where, when, why, et cetera, when it kind of comes to 2-parent homes versus a single-parent home. And I don't want to sit here and bash one side or the other. I do know that, depending on who you're talking to and, who you may want to follow on various type of conversations, people say that, it's more of a civil matter, so why a county? The county's getting involved, in the situation, because that's where a lot of the monetary piece kind of comes in at, and they don't necessarily care about the kid. And
the county is only involved because of the parents. So, so a lot of people don't realize that the county is always pushing for you guys to resolve this on your own. That's what they're pushing for. Even if you go into court, the first thing they scream is, let's get a mediator. Let's have you guys work this out. But when you can't work it out, the county follows the rule of law and it says, okay, since you're not there and you're not willing to provide these funding on your own, and since the county is going to be kind of supporting certain resources, we're going to stand up and enforce the child support. But at any point, if the custodial parent decides, hey, you know what, I want to forgive arrears, I don't want to enforce this, all they have to do is do a letter to the court, and that goes away. So it does become weaponized. It really does. It does become weaponized, unfortunately, and a lot of people don't understand their rights as a parent that's not custodial in terms of being able to pay child support. There's a few things that come into play. They're taking in your current income, bills, expenses of that nature. But the most important part is that you're involved in the child's life. And so, yeah, it can be county enforcing it, unfortunately. Usually it's because most of the time the parents can't get along and they can't come to some kind of understanding of what will be a monetary value to support the child properly. So I always recommend that if you can work it out, fine. If you can't, then in some cases, it's best to have county involved, because then you have a record that you are doing your part financially. But the kid still needs to see a healthy relationship with the co-parenting, right? They need to see mom and dad smiling and at least being cordial and respectful to each other. When the kids are in a situation where the mom's pounding them for who was at dad's house and what was happening at dad's house, and it's more argumentative, we need some therapy involved so mom can process those emotions and feelings that she still has or that dad still has, so that the kid is not caught in the middle. I see this a lot, should I say. I do see this a lot because I talk to a lot of little younger families, and they come to me and go, man, what do you think I should do?
Well, I will say this here. I think that we may agree to disagree. I don't think for one second that the county has these children's best interest at all. That's just my own personal opinion. I do see, and acknowledge their position, if it needs to kind of go there. But I will agree in what you said is that, if you have made that decision to lay down and produce a kid, do whatever you can do to ensure that you guys are able to co-parent without outside assistance or outside influences or whatever the case may be. that's where things start to kind of get a little messy, a little murky, and at the end of the day, that child is not receiving what he or she needs.
And I think you're 100% right. I mean, the county is not considering the child for the most part. There are some things they consider in terms of well-being that they have to by law, but unfortunately, it's all monetary for them. You know, it's strictly they're trying to recoup whatever funds that they stuck into. Right. That's what they're trying to recoup. And then, okay, mom, you're gonna have this portion, but you know, make no mistake, they're there because there's an opportunity financially for the county. Period. Okay.
Indeed. Well, again, please make sure that you check out my webpage, or you kind of make sure that you're over at 505 Wabasha Street North in St. Paul. That's Saturday and Sunday on the 21st and 22nd. It goes from 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. Again, Pastor Troy will be here next week, and he will be giving you a lot more information pertaining to that and some other things that he will be talking about. But again, March Madness.
Yes.
Well, we got a lot of stuff kind of going on, you know, pertaining to this, if you want to call it a war, with Iran. You know, we constantly seeing our gas prices, you know, rising, I should say. I think they said that the average price of regular gas right now is about $3.25. You know, that premium is like around about $4.19. You know, they're again, depending on who you're listening to, gas prices are expected to rise about another 10 to 20 cents.
Well, Iran's kind of holding that straight pretty tight, and with the drone bombs and things of that nature. So we're talking about 20% of the world's oil that's kind of sitting on hold. And there's no getting around it. I mean, honestly, we do have some reserves, but I mean, the oil is where it is. It's in the Middle East, and it's on hold right now because a lot of people are worried about getting a missile in the back. And that's enough to get your attention. So, yep, it's starting to cost us a few bucks.
Yeah, they're saying that a barrel of oil right now is supposed to be like around about $88.
Yeah.
They're speculating, you know, that could rise to, you know, 100 to maybe even a little bit over $100 a barrel. You know, and that's kind of where some of that 10 to 20 cent, you know, as speculation is supposed to be kind of creeping up. You know, so
what that tells me is I need a direct pipeline to the barrels, as I'm buying the barrel at the pump.
What's that telling me? I need a bicycle.
Yeah,
I can get fit with that.
Oh man, $88 a barrel. That's not bad. I mean, when you're talking about $3 and some change a gallon. Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's just like I said, everything's kind of going up.
Yeah.
You know, everything except people's paychecks.
Yeah.
You know, businesses are closing completely. Other businesses is closing, you know, earlier than usual. You know, and all of these things are having an impact, you know, on your overall outcome. You know, I know you was kind of talking earlier about the various drones and some other, you know, things that were, you know, kind of happening. Was it a couple days ago? They had some type of big event over in New York, and they had two young men that I believe was from the Middle East. You know.
They're American citizens.
Yeah.
And they're saying that they were following the leadership of ICE. But they're U.S. Both of them are U.S. citizens, and it just said that you know, folks are looking for something to belong to, and they pick those type of things that are willing to harm others. No one's saying you can't, you know, research and be a part of whatever you choose to, but somewhere along the plan, when it starts saying like, yeah, we're going to go out and actually harm people, that's when you got to go, time out. I didn't sign up for that. I thought we were just mad because of X, Y, and Z, right?
Right.
But we're talking folks who become extremists. And these kids are young. They're both young. But they did release some video last night that just came about from those kids when they were out in the fire store buying the fireworks, and that's what they actually ended up being, with some firework devices that didn't actually explode, but they intended to cause terror.
Right.
And so they're treated as such.
Well, I know there was about maybe 3 weeks ago. There was another gentleman that had an AR rifle and was downtown. I can't remember exactly what city this was, but he did, create a mass shooting situation. I think 2 or 3 people end up dying in that scenario or that situation, and multiple others were injured. And he had on some type of shirt that was stating that he was part of some type of other group, terrorist group. So I say that to say this here is that even though that we may, as far when I say we, I'm talking about the U.S., may have not had anything kind of touch us, if you will, since 9/11. But history has a way of repeating itself, and we always seem to have these little individual sales, that kind of pop up here and there and so on and so forth until something kind of, big happens, such as a 9/11. We don't want nor do we need, another a 9/11. We've already lost, 7 or 8 soldiers. That's 7 or 8 too many. Again, depending on who you're talking to, things of that nature. Some are for what's kind of going on. Others are like, what's going on? Why is this happening? Folks want to always kind of compare the Democrats and Republicans or Obama to Trump, et cetera, et cetera. I think that there's enough fingers, to be pointed at a little bit of everybody. Man, we need.
Yeah, I think what people need to understand too is that, the Democrats and Republicans and the Independents. This is a campaigning concept. This is a, differences of opinion concept. We're all Americans, right? And when the election is over, historically we're supposed to rally around the party that won and go, okay, you guys get to have your way. You did fair and squarely win, so we're going to support what you have. And then when it comes out, if we don't like the way things went, we're going to go to the polls, and you may lose some voters, and we'll celebrate that, and they'll come over to our side, and maybe we might win, and then we'll get a chance to push our agenda. And that's what's kept democracy working back and forth. And I think people need to understand that. This is about us as Americans. At the end of the day, we're supporting all Americans. The presidency is supposed to be a reflection of all Americans, not certain groups of Americans, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what we have to get back to, that, hey, all right, he's in power right now. Okay, we're gonna kind of, support his agenda to some degree. We're gonna disagree to agree, but when we get our chance, we'll go back and fix those things he got wrong. So we shouldn't be in a position where we're wishing someone dead and all those type of things. We should go, okay, we're going to learn from this situation. We're going to strengthen our base, and we're going to put in place some things we want to see different. And then we're going to rally those folks who kind of feel the same way. And when it comes our chance, this is why we scream, go to the polls, go to the polls, right? Because if you're not happy with what happened, then the next time you get a chance to vote, then vote someone different, right? So, but the core values of America are that we are one nation, right? United together. And so we share protecting everyone's liberties, right? And so that's what we need to be pushing, is that we are the United States of America, not separate states of America. We are the United States of America. And we're going to support everyone's liberties for justice and equality throughout America. And so, understand that those are all of our children that are in harm's way in those uniforms representing our United States military. Right?
Absolutely.
They come from all walks of life and all backgrounds. And right now, those young men and women are in harm's way to protect our values, our way of life in America. And so we need to make sure that we're supporting them and letting them know that they're loved, and they're supporting their families that are back home, who are extremely worried about whether or not their loved one is going to make it back home. And so, Yeah, that's one to say that little piece there.
Absolutely. Well, I know that we're kind of coming down to another end of a fabulous show. Let's talk about it, where we are here each and every Wednesday from 5 until 6, just as we are always out here kind of doing other things in the community. But real quick, there's two things I kind of wanted to talk about real quick. Number one is that there was just a like a community forum or whatever it was, and the city of Minneapolis police chief was responding to questions about the city of Minneapolis Police Department's role.
Oh yeah, this is
during the federal immigration surge. There seemed to be a whole lot of individuals that was very upset and disappointed, with that outcome as far as their involvement. One of the things I do want to kind of point out is within all of this, our current county sheriff has just been really, really quiet, pertaining to this situation. I will commend the chief of police for at least sitting down, with those and being able to hear the community's voice, because, people's voice, the community's voice matters. It's the people that make, the changes, but I would still like to kind of get, your insight on that tidbit.
I mean, I did see a little bit of it, and I think what it was is that the citizens felt that the police just didn't support them and protect them. I think that's what they felt across the board, was that, hey, you guys just were invisible at some point. Now, we know that was not the case, because we did see Brian and the guys out there run up and down the street, but the problem is it's not just being visible, but also being visibly and accountable and stepping in where they needed folks to step in at. And I know that there was a lot of confusion for Minneapolis Police Department in terms of where they stood legally while these agents were enforcing their job. So let me say it like this. The police department were always in a great position when you're a supporting party, right? No one said go out and do immigration enforcement. What we said was, when immigration officers or agents are out there performing their duty, let's make sure that, one, that they're performing it professionally, two, that they're not harming people unnecessarily, and that you're keeping both them and the community safe. Now, if you were not aware if you could intervene, then you became a good reporter, then you document information and you still submit the report. And if you thought that someone was being hurt outside of the authority of the federal agents, then you had a legal obligation to step in and stop the harm, right? And so this is something that could have been worked out on a case-by-case basis, because even if you thought that there was an improper intervention, right, your overall goal is that you erred on the side of keeping the individual safe. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what the community was looking for them to do, was to make sure that you kept the citizens safe. But because there was so much push that we're going to have no involvement at all, what the community heard was, I'm not safe. No one's going to stand up for me if these guys come in my house. And as the citizens, they were even less informed on what their rights were, right? And so that caused tyranny, right? And you know as well as I do, when people feel tyranny, they feel pushed in the corner, they're going to come out swinging, right? Self-preservation, the first law of nature. And so that's what happened. And I think clearly the sheriff could have been a little more boisterous about ensuring that there was clear directions for all police departments in Hennepin County, for all citizens to understand that they were going to have their rights protected and that someone was going to stand up and keep them safe. And so that didn't happen.
Right.
Unfortunately, it did not happen. The first warning, and I always say the first warning because the first warning was when they got the call on a non-emergency line from ICE or Homeland agents requesting assistance on a non-emergency phone number, okay? That was the first warning that, wait a minute, we have to pause things and get better communication for these guys, because why do we have federal agents contacting the dispatch center on a cell phone when they could just utilize a radio, right? That's the communication. So at that point, we should have been working to get in the room. Even though we say that the ICE agents or Homeland Security didn't approach us, at that point, we should have realized, okay, we need to approach them, because we can't have these guys in our backyard and not know what's going on, right? And so that was an important piece that should have happened. It should have happened before the unnecessary deaths happened, right? Had it happened, the unnecessary deaths may have been prevented. We both know it's preventable. So, and I think what we had was a situation where immigration came out and said, listen, we're using Border Patrol agents to kind of back our guys up because we don't have the necessary help in place that we need to have, and it's unknown terrain, right? We don't know this area. A lot of our guys aren't from Minnesota. So they're going to be trying to enforce administrative warrants with no real support on the ground. And based on what's being said in the community, this is putting these agents at risk. And so that's what happened.
Absolutely.
So, and at some point, you kind of put cop against cop and force them to go, well, we're not going to be on your side, and we've been teamed up since day one.
Mm-hmm. So. Absolutely. Well, real quick before we get on up out of here and they turn out the lights on us, people are always asking. Two-sided coin here, real quick. You got about 2 minutes. Number one. Why should I vote for Joe? And what is he going to kind of do differently, and how would he have, or how will he deal with, our federal partners, moving forward?
One, I'm going to be working with our federal partners, no problem. We'll work to have a happy medium to keep the community safe, because that's our overall goal, to keep the community safe. And so they know they got people on the ground to keep them safe, too, while they're doing their jobs. Two, why vote for Joe? Because I offer you an opportunity of a grassroots campaign so that you can realize you have a voice, right? Those core values, keeping your community, your family members safe, raising them in a safe environment, right? I'm 100%, pro-cop. I'm 100% anti-crime. We all want to be safe in Hennepin County, and that is my overall goal. At the end of the day, what do I intend to do? I'm going to make sure that we are educating people so they don't have to go to jail. It's okay to educate them when they're in jail, but if we can prevent them from getting there to begin with, we're ahead of the game. We're going to hold folks accountable, right? Both community and law enforcement. Right? But we're going to build those bridges to make sure that we have a well-oiled machine working together to identify and solve problems within their community. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so we're going to add more cops. We're going to add more deputies. We're going to make sure that we're assigning deputies to each one of these departments so that there's no longer that gap in between communication between agencies. And we're going to work hard with the police chiefs to make sure that we have a uniform policing concept in our county.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. And we are down to another fabulous show of Let's Talk About It. Again, where we are here each and every Wednesday from 5 until 6. We have had the big man kind of come on in and give us that look. But, hey, check this out. We cannot do this without CCX, right? Bringing you news that you can use, and that's why we are asking you to help out. Dig in that pocketbook. Hey, look, I know that gas is getting high. I know that rent was just due, and you got the car note coming up, and you got to go to the grocery store. But, instead of giving them extra spare changes at the grocery store, why don't you go on to CCX Create donation and kind of click that donation box? I guarantee they would greatly appreciate it. And they're looking for new innovative programming, so kind of come on down to CCX Create yourself, and then perhaps, I can be a special guest on your show. Until then, you can kind of come on down and be a special guest on our show, and we can talk about it. Brother Joe, I'm going to go ahead and turn on over to you so you can go ahead and hit him with that famous backpack so we can get on up out of here before they turn the lights out on us.
All right, 2 final points. 1, I don't know if folks are aware, but because Minnesota is in a state of emergency in terms of fraud, A lot of agencies are waiting for monies to be released so that they can continue to take care of those people who are in need of care. So, with that being said, I want you to make sure that you're reaching out to some of those 501c3s or nonprofit organizations and seeing how best you can support them, because right now they're experiencing a financial crunch. As you know, when it comes to grants, most of the time those organizations are spending their own money and then they're being reimbursed by the federal or state grants. And when that process doesn't happen, eventually that money runs out and the services aren't able to be provided for those folks in our community who need those services. So make sure you're checking in with them to see how you can best help them out. Secondly, with this campaign, I'm great to see so many people coming out to support us. I really appreciate it. And more just keep on coming out. But remember to go to Banks, BANKS, the number 4sheriff.com. Jump on our page, learn how you can be a part, and most importantly, donate to support our cause so that we can get in a position to help your voice be heard. Again, that's Banks, BANKS, the number 4sheriff.com. Jump on our page, answer any questions when you get there, find a way to donate, and we'll win together to make Hennepin County better again. With that being said, you know we start, middle, and end the show with the backpack.
That famous backpack.
And that backpack consists of making sure you got your driver's license and insurance before you get in that vehicle. Remember to place them above the visor. That way if stopped by law enforcement, it won't be mistaken for a weapon, and it's easily accessible. Remember to stay calm, keep your hands where they can be seen, allow the officer to go through his spiel, and as always, make it on home to your loved ones. Same thing when walking down the street. Make sure you got your driver's license or ID where it's easily accessible. Remember to stay calm, keep your hands where they can be seen, allow the officer to go through his spiel, and make it on home to your loved ones.
You got to make it home.
It's been a great day again. Love you guys for the support. My name's Joe Banks.
And I'm Anthijuan Beeks.
And we just talked about it.
Peace.